Coming up in this episode, we bring you an update on how our shortlist is getting even shorter. We have some news to share on the budget.
Since our last vlog, we've actually got a clearer idea of where we stand budget-wise now.
And we take you with us as we head to South Wales as we make our next in-depth boat viewing.
Down the companionway. Let's see what we find.
Just looking, then you can see it's bags ahead.
Wow. Keeps it so headline in front of there.
And finally, we take you with us on our very first sea trial. As you know, we've been travelling hither and yonder, far and wide, looking to upsize from Kipper. But it just seems like there isn't an end in sight. But who knows, maybe this time it could be the one.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. It's been quite some time since our last vlog, and we just want to say a really big thank you to everybody that commented on the last vlog. Where, as you recall, we went to Milford Haven to have a look at the Southerly 115. Now, a lot of people had some very, very worthwhile comments there, and you know, sometimes it's a bit difficult because you can actually get caught up when you go and look at a boat. You know, oh yeah, I like this boat and I like that and I like this.
I always like a mast with steps on it. I've always wanted one. There's something about it that you just think, you know, I've got to climb up that.
Or it's nice sometimes to have that sort of cold logic from somewhere else where somebody will say, well, what about this? That's not looking so good. So you have pause for thought, if you like. So that's been really useful. So thanks very much for that, folks.
With the Southerly, we felt that perhaps we're just taking on that little bit too much work.
In the meantime, since our last vlog, we've actually got a clearer idea of where we stand budget-wise now. And unfortunately it's actually coming up a little bit shorter than we expected it to be, but that's just the way it is. What that means, unfortunately, is that some of the boats that we've already been to see fall beyond our budget. Now today we're actually on our way to go and have a look at another boat in Swansea, in the marina. Now it's not the first time we've been to look at a boat there. In fact, we were there not so long ago to have a look at the Freedom 35. That's the cat catch boat, like this.
Now, personally, I really like the Freedom 35. It's such an unusual design, particularly with the rig. It looks like a windsurfer, doesn't it, in a way? But I'll bet you one thing, at the right angles, that boat will sail like an old witch. Unfortunately, we've heard in the meantime that the boat is now probably sold. So unfortunately, she's going to have to come off the list, at least for now. You never know. We also took another spin up to North Wales, this time to go and meet another YouTube star, and here she is, Steel Melody from the channel Sailing Melody. Now, Steel Melody is currently on the market, but unfortunately we did feel for ourselves that there was actually still a lot of work still to do, and unfortunately just buying the boat alone was actually going to swallow up most of the budget. So unfortunately that one has had to be ruled out. But still, a great boat for somebody.
The boat we're going to see today is also technically beyond our budget as well. But there's a good reason why we're carrying on to go and have a look at the boat. And that really is so that we can actually look at the boat and see whether it's the sort of thing we had in mind. And if so, keep our ear to the ground, as it were, in case there's another one comes on the market that's more towards our budget. The boat we're going to look at is a Westerly Seahawk 35. off we go then, really, folks. Let's go to Swansea. I suppose it makes a change to actually be going slightly local, doesn't it?
Swansea sits on the south coast of Wales here in the UK. The main marina is actually made up of two main pools, and they're quite sizable. They're actually council run. Out in the Towie River there's another marina, but I believe that one is actually owned by the Tobacco Club. Now, I came across this boat on the Westerly Owners Association website, which actually was a great repository of information. So here she is, folks, Double T. She's a Westerly Seahawk 35 fin keel. Well, the Westerly Seahawk 35 is another design by Ed Dubois, and he was also responsible for a lot of the other Westerly designs, including the well-known 26-foot Griffin and, of course, the even better Sea Lord. As the successor to the Seahawk 34, the 35 obviously was a little bit longer and had the sugar scoop stern on it. But the actual boat itself is available in two flavours, really. You can have the bilge keeler version. Obviously, you've got the advantages of the bilge keel. Or you can have the fin keel version, which is obviously just a single fin, and one would hope some improvements in sailing performance. So let's have a closer look. Double T was in the Marina in Swansea. Now, overall, she's about 34.5 feet long, and at the waterline she's just over 27 foot. Now, on deck you can actually straight away appreciate that this is actually a really beamy boat at just over 12 foot. And to put that into perspective, Kipper is just over 8. Walking forward, we feel that the actual side decks are quite wide, and of course with the stanchions and the wires you actually feel very secure on board. As we get onto the foredeck, we can see we've got the Selden furling Genoa here, which is quite a nice setup and actually fairly recent. Turning our attention to the rig, we can see that it's a masthead sloop type arrangement with a single spreader. Again, quite simple in its setup, but very sturdy. Looking at the boom, we've got a nearly new stack and pack system, which is hiding a nearly new mainsail, and of course we've got all the lazy jacks, etc., which makes sail handling that little bit easier. Of course, you can't help but notice the spray canopy and bimini arrangement. This bimini arrangement makes the cockpit actually quite roomy, so it's a good place to socialise. Way up in the foredeck we have an electronic windlass system, which actually takes all the hard work out of lifting that damn anchor. At the stern you really appreciate that 12 foot of beam. It does feel very wide back here. And of course the sugar scoop system makes getting off and on the boat that little bit easier. The Seahawk 35 is of course a centre cockpit arrangement, and we know there's a mixed bag of reactions and how people feel about that. But the actual cockpit itself does feel quite snug, it's elevated and it keeps you away from the water. It has the centre binnacle for steering, etc., but you can see the wheel has been removed here just to provide a bit more room in the cockpit. One of the other interesting things about this cockpit is this cockpit locker. It's absolutely massive. In fact, I was able to stand in this at 5'10" and it was still above my head in depth. You can put an awful lot of gear in there. But what about below deck? Let's go and have a look. So let's head on down the companionway and see what we find. Quite a drop down actually. So coming down the companionway, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so a fair old way down. Immediately to the right, then we've got the chart table. Come back and have a look at that in a second. and the Saloon. Unlike a lot of other boats created and designed through Westerly, the Seahawk doesn't seem to have much variation in the design and layout. In fact, from my research, the only difference I could find was that on some, the later versions, the aft cabin had a central or island type berth, and that's all I could find. So we've got what looks like a twin leaf table. That's good. Obligatory TV, of course. Lots of storage at the side. Let's have a look over this side. Again, more storage over here. Plates, etc. Mood lighting. So, just looking, then you can see it's bags of headroom. You know, yeah, very impressive. Compression post. So let's move forward. Cupboards. Storage space. Very nice. Forward cabin. Quite bright here, actually, I've got to say. I think this is for the old curtain. The saggy curtain there is for the skylight, as you can see here on deck. The advantage of that, of course, is that it gives you a little bit more privacy in the forecabin. Cockpit cushions. Oh, I see, and there's an infill there at the front that sits down there. So that becomes a nice large double. So see, they've got more of the mood lighting here. Storage, hanging, drying. Age old problem, look. You know. Westerly, say no more. Oh, this will be the heads. Pump, toilets, etc. Storage behind, storage below, sink. Oh yeah, it's the shower head as well. You can see we've got the shower rail here as well. Keeps in saggy head. Once again, you can see here the saggy headline issue, but as I said before, this is a common problem with Westerlies. You show me a Westerly that hasn't had that sort of issue. So what have we got over here? Sort of usual there, switches, bilge pump, VHF, stereo. Oh, actually we've got a water heater as well, so that means we've got an immersion heater. That's useful. A couple of radios. Port side is the galley. Just a quick spin. Turning our attention to the galley, we've got the sink here, which is a twin sink arrangement and also has a mixer tap with hot and cold water. Nice. Lots of storage. Cooker. So what we got? 2 burner grill and an oven. And of course, gimbal. One thing I did notice, that whilst the cooker is gimbaled, unfortunately it doesn't seem to have a locking mechanism to actually lock it in position. The foot pedal is for pumping water through, so you can save power rather than using battery power. This is what's known as a linear galley sort of layout, and as you can see there's quite a lot of space for food prep, etc. Just below we can actually see the fridge, which is quite sizable, but this one actually has been held open with a bit of tape just so it can breathe. Sort of makes sense. So there's fridge there. Okay, so into the aft cabin and port side. There's like a seating area, which is nice. Sink. Hot and cold water.
See, we've got the same old saggy headlinings problem here. And there you go, that's the way it is. Power sockets, etc.
The bunk is offset to starboard, but it's actually quite a nice little space and looks quite snug. Of course, there's considerably less headroom, as you'd expect in the aft cabin, but you know, that's just the way it is.
So what we've got here then is the rear access to the engine. Oh, just before I do, I'll show you this. So we've got down here outlets for the heating.
It was interesting to note the boat's fitted with an Eberspecher heating system with ducting into all the cabins, so that will save a lot of hassle. In fairness, the owner said it works when it feels like it, so that would need investigation.
It's already there. So looking at the back end of the engine, so I've got our separator here.
I confess, I'm not sure how I feel about the fuel tank being mounted above the engine in what is, after all, quite a warm environment. But I guess they're designed that way, so what do I know?
So we've got a Volvo 20003, 2003. Cockpit turns here. Seems clean enough in there, you know.
Looking above the actual engine, we can see the base of the cockpit, and we're looking here at the foot of the binnacle. We can also note it's actually a cable system rather than a hydraulic system.
Over here. Okay, so looking at the front end of the engine. Oh, looks okay. Funny how you look front of the engine compared to the size of my hand. Makes the engine look very small.
Now, I have to say, I found this boat particularly roomy, especially here in the saloon, which feels light and airy. Yes, we've got the ongoing issue with any Westerly of a bit of saggy headlinings in a few places, but, you know, is that really a deal breaker? The other thing I spotted as well was that a few of these windows or hatches have been sealed, so this speaks of leaking hatches. In fact, I spotted 3 through the boat that have actually been sealed up in this way. Looking at the woodwork, we could see there's actually some wood damage as a result of leaking windows. They're dry now, but obviously it's an ongoing concern. But the question is it a deal breaker? We were especially lucky to be able to take the boat out for a spin with the owner and see what she actually sailed like. I've got to say, this was a rare opportunity and one we really snapped up as soon as it was offered.
So, 'cause
great sale was just about to get even better with some very, very special visitors. I wonder, is it an omen? Are they telling us something? But with the tide ebbing fast, it's time to make for home. We've had a fantastic sail, and we've even got some memories to take home as well. Looking at the prices for the boats, the Westerly Seahawk 35 tends to be fetching between £28,000 and £38,000. Double T is actually on the market at the moment for £34,000, and there is a little room for negotiation on that. So there she is, folks, Double T, a Westerly Seahawk 35 fin keel. I have to say this was a fantastic viewing, and get the chance to go out and sail her was a real treat. She actually sailed phenomenally well, and I was amazed at how well she pointed. Absolutely brilliant. But what do you think, folks? Our search is continuing. Is Double T the one for us? Let us know what you think in the comments, folks. Thanks for being part of this journey, folks. Don't forget, hit that bell and stay up to date with all the latest developments.